Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
It's official.
The American Le Mans Series season began in March at Sebring, the traditional opener, with one of the biggest, toughest fields in memory. Now, many ALMS teams are focused on 24 hours in France. This week, though, they have a new challenge in Sears Point and the chase for the ALMS Season Championship.
Welcome to a very soggy Sears Point, California. I talk about California, you think about May. It's not supposed to rain like this in May in California. And in fact, I believe it's caught many of these teams out. This morning, it was so wet that the cars were a full 30 seconds a lap slower than what they were in the dry. So it's certainly going to be a huge challenge for these drivers to try and get some grip on a very, very difficult circuit. Rick?
From Sears Point Raceway in Sonoma, California, coverage of the American Le Mans Series here on Speed Channel. Today, round 2 of the 2002 season. It's the Grand Prix of Sonoma, presented by Foster's Lager. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin, joined by Bill Adam. Glad to be with you this day. And Bill, what a change today. 2 days of sunshine here. Now it's been hard rain all morning and all afternoon so far.
Yeah, and it's going to be a dramatic change for the drivers as well. Only 2 cars, those being the 2 front row Audis, will have good vision at least for lap 1. Then it's going to deteriorate immediately. But the car to watch, I think, is Jan Magnussen. The spectators can look for his typical spectacular wet rain drive.
Very quick, we'll watch Magnussen try to come to the front here. There's another old element of excitement here this weekend. Many of these teams, more than 12 American Le Mans Series teams, will go to Le Mans to run the 24 hours next month. They had to go through pre-qualifying. What did that do to their efforts?
A logistical nightmare if they don't have enough. Audi, for example, had to borrow the backup car from Champion. They have last year's Champion car. Corvette, 2 brand new cars. They left their cars over there in France. Conrad with a Celine has 1 car here, 1 in France, and Kevin Buckler, I think, is the story of the weekend. He had a great time at Le Mans. He's coming here with a lot of confidence. A lot of the new Porsche technology, and maybe another secret weapon, Marino Franchitti.
Buckler, of course, in the GT category. That car is the pole sitter, and that's quite a surprise. Well, the teams are preparing. It's going to be a tough afternoon for them because of the wet weather. Let's get an update. Here's Amanda Stratton.
Well, another way that the weather is going to have a serious impact on this race is, of course, tyres. Now, everybody is going to be running wet tyres for the start of the race. And in GTS, there are 3 manufacturers that are going to be taking part. That is Pirelli, Goodyear, and Michelin. Now, traditionally, the Goodyears have had a very strong rain tyre, and that has benefited the Corvette team. But the Corvette team have 2 new cars here this weekend because their 2 old cars are, in fact, at Le Mans, and they have never run so much front camber on these cars. Is it going to work out for them this weekend at the start of the race? We'll just have to wait and see.
As the field moves away, let's take a look at what Sears Point really seems like from the driver's seat with the help of some of our onboard cameras.
Sears Point, 2.5 miles, 12 turns, a twisting track with blind corners. On board with Emanuele Pirro, the number 1 Yost Audi. This is going up into a high-speed section of track, and look at how blind it is. Over the crest of this hill, resist the temptation to jump on the gas. Very slow and feed power on the straight. Now we're going to jump inside Ron Fellows' Corvette. Another blind corner. Now watch as we go to this long 180 sweeper. The tendency to hit the gas too early, but you've got to hold it in. Be patient, and now feed power onto the edge of the road. Another good straight, another good passing spot. The top end of the track, we're on board our 3rd car, the number 66 Kevin Buckler Porsche. This is called one of the hairpins, but it's actually a 2-part corner. Right to the edge and then sweep back in. And up ahead, you'll see the track twisting, but that's the straight. The fastest section of the track up ahead. The final corner, this is turn 11 and leads onto the front straight, so it is critical to get a good launch on this. The slowest turn on the track, you can see we're on board Alex Job, McKenna Porsche, right tight to the inside here. Feed power on, up against that concrete wall, and carry all the speed you can to get that good launch. Look at the number of dots around this track showing various gears. This is a track to keep you busy.
Problems for one of the key cars in the field today, Bill Adam. This is John Field's 675 prototype car, 4th quick qualifier.
Yeah, and I have no idea what I think actually happened at the start. It was maybe just a spin, because like anything else, you have to get wet tires up to temperature. When they don't have any temperature, they don't have any grip. Now, this is actually our helmet cam. We have a small camera right inside the lining of the helmet. So any place he's going to turn his head to look, we're going to get the benefit of looking at it. You can see he does have power at the telemetry on the steering wheel, trying to restart it. A frantic time for him right now.
Taking a look there at the telemetry, the readouts that are on the steering wheel. Let's take a look now at our Army starting grid, and we'll tell you more about the 4 categories of race cars that you'll see here today.
Well, the most exotic of all, the LMP 900, 1,980 pounds minimum weight. These are the monsters, the most technologically advanced cars in the world, and there it is. That's the best today, the LMP car. Johnny Herbert, Andy Wallace, Tom Christensen, ADT champion, their first ever pole. The LMP 675, less weight. See, they're down to 1,485 pounds, and they also have a lot smaller motors. But a track like this, without having long straights, could easily be a challenge. John Field, Rick Sutherland, they're Lola blindingly fast. Moving down to the GTS class, these are the big thumpers, the Corvettes, the Vipers, the Ferrari. 2420 and up to 8 liters of displacement. Massive horsepower, lots of torque. And the fastest today, well, Canadian Ron Fellows and American Johnny O'Connell, that number 3 Corvette. They have been dominant in it. Finally, moving back to the GT class. The class today, nothing but Porsches between 2420 and 2750 pounds. They are not allowed turbochargers in this class with the Porsches. These are normally aspirated. And Kevin Buckler, hometown hero, along with Marino Franchitti. Great victory for them already in qualifying.
Marino Franchitti and Buckler putting that car on the pole in GT, a major surprise. Now, we'll show you the rest of our starting lineup here today with the use of our speed strip at the top of your screen. 32 cars expected to do battle. One of the other features we're bringing you here today, we're going to have the ability to talk to some of Alex Job's Porsche drivers. And Lucas Luhr ready to talk to you, Bill.
Well, we'll try this and hopefully it'll work. Lucas, this is Bill Adam in the booth. Can you hear me? Lucas Luhr, this is Bill Adam in the booth. Can you hear me? Well, we may be having some technical difficulties right now. We'll give it one more try. Lucas, Bill Adam in the television booth. Can you hear me, Lucas? Well, we'll try working with that to see if we can't get in touch with him. We did try this earlier, and perhaps the rain is playing havoc with our equipment as well, but he's on board the McKenna Porsche, and surprisingly, we thought they would be on the pole.
As we watch the cars line up behind the safety car, getting some recon laps in here in the wet. Let's send it downstairs to Jan Beekes.
Well, we were talking about John Field, and in particular what was happening with the 37 machine, and did he spin or was there a problem? Check with the team. Maybe a similar problem to what Lucas Luhr is having. Electronics, something is wrong. It just stalled. He didn't get off course. He didn't spin. But right now, no power.
Oh, boy.
Tough break indeed. We were expecting that perhaps John Field and Rick Sutherland might be able to contend at least for a podium overall today in that 675 car.
I agree with you, Rick. I think what the 675s did at Sebring, particularly that little MG when Johnny Kane was in it, just an astonishingly fast car. And it partly works out well because these are relatively high horsepower cars. 550, 575 horsepower range. And the lightweight just goes hand in hand. It makes it very agile. On a twisting track like this, where they really can't run a lot of horsepower, boy, they can be a real giant killer.
And especially with the wet conditions, if they stay this way all afternoon.
And wet, I think any driver here would like to be in one of those in the wet. Well, look at Le Mans last year.
And of course, the theory behind the 675 prototypes, eventually, the ACO thinks that these cars can certainly contend for overall victories at any racetrack at any time. All right, let's see if we can talk to Lucas Luhr once.
Yeah, they're getting closer to us. Let's give us one more try. Lucas Luhr, this is Bill Adam in the television booth. Can you hear me? I think the water is playing havoc today. That's unfortunate because we were able to talk to him when it was dry, so something has gone astray here.
Well, the weather conditions apparently improving a good bit because we've been able to get our helicopter up so that we can bring you some onboard shots. And one of the cars that we will be riding with will be the 23 car, the McKenna Porsche from the Alex Job team, Lucas Luhr and Sasha Massa. And we're being told by IMSA officials that this time the field will start the race, although they'll start behind the safety car because of the wet racetrack.
Let me try one more time here for Lucas. Lucas, this is Bill Adam in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Bill, I can hear you.
Now, the conditions look terrible out there. What's it like from behind your viewpoint?
Well, honestly, I have to say the best thing is to change with you because the track is pretty nasty. I mean, there are puddles everywhere, water you cannot see because of the fog from the cars in front of you. It's really hard conditions.
Yeah, we are on board your car right now. I can see out the front windshield, and it looks relatively good currently. It doesn't look like you have any sort of a defogging problem, and hopefully it'll stay good for you.
I mean, if the race goes on and inside the car gets further, then starts the fog problem. Right at the moment, you can see clear because all the cars are going slow, so the fog from the car in front of you is not so high. That's the problem later on in the race.
Now, is this a situation where you maybe want to be a little more patient than normal and just let things settle down for a few laps, or do you try and charge immediately to get yourself a breakaway?
Well, I think the first couple of laps will be really a chaos, so I just let the things down, and then after the few laps, I will start to drive my own race.
All right, thanks for the update, Lucas. We'll try to get back to you later during a quiet period for you, but good luck to you, my friend.
Lucas Luhr starting one of the Alex Job McKenna Porsches. They'll line up third in GT. We'll continue here under caution at Sears Point Raceway. We'll look for a green flag when we come back to the Grand Prix of Sonoma here on Speed Channel. Stay with us. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is being brought to you by Audi. In technology, performance, and design, our goal remains constant. Never follow. Great crowd on hand despite the conditions at the vastly changed Sears Point Raceway. A huge amount of rebuilding going on here. A $50 million renovation project, Bill Adam. They've put together a huge new main grandstand. They've repaved part of the racetrack, and it's just a great place to come and watch. And we take a look at John Field's helmet cam. They still can't get fire in that car.
Yeah, you see the frustration. He's throwing up his hands right now. They're getting electrical power onto that steering wheel. How maddening is that? Well, we
thought the engine was running in the car, but it looks as though the electrics just aren't cooperating. The readout on the steering wheel there was obviously not what it needed to be so that John could take that car off of pit road. Several other onboard looks for you. Kevin Buckler starts his Porsche on the pole in GT.
He has reason to smile. He lives locally and has a lot of laps at this track, but there's more to that that's giving him the success because he ran so well at the Le Mans trials, and he's really pumped up. Onboard 23, this is Lucas Luhr and Sasha Masson, who are going to be the Alex Job car, who we just spoke to a few minutes ago, and you can see that, as he mentioned, right now the vision is fine. It's kind of like having your highway windshield good condition rather than bad condition. The worse the vision, the more frightening it gets on this track. Not the least of which to consider is the vision out the back. They don't have wipers on the rear, so.
We'll ride with Andy Pilgrim and Kelly Collins in one of the two factory Corvettes in GTS. This is the Ford car, qualified second. They line up 11th overall.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got some sort of a Rain-X or something on the windshield. Look at the way that the water is just kind of beating and blowing off, and his wiper isn't even running at this point. They also have a secret weapon. They have a wiper on the inside just in case it starts fogging. That could pay off hugely.
Full lineup up top on our speed strip for you. And if you're just joining us, this is car number one, the factory Yost Audi. Dindo Capello will start the car, and he'll line up strangely on the outside pole.
Yeah, and don't feel sorry for the fact that he's in an open car today, because the aerodynamics of this car are so good that last year at Le Mans, which is run almost totally in the rain, the drivers would frequently get out and be completely dry, even their helmets. They are very, very good, and that not only helps with the driver temperature comfort factor, but also the vision. I mean, boy, there's nothing worse than having your visor fogged up or a windshield foggy. It's terrifying.
So part of the strategy for these teams is how to prepare these cars to run in wet conditions, and certainly we'll have a good bit of this race run in wet weather here today. Our speed storylines for you, the two Audis, very interesting story. Bill, I know you can elaborate, but there's no team orders between the Yost car and the champion.
No, this is not a case like Ferrari pulled last week in that Formula One race. That was ridiculous. This is a flat-out fight. Now, Audi did call champion when they realized that Yost couldn't bring their cars over and said, can we get your backup car? Dave Mirage says, yes, you can. They painted it in the Yost colors, but they are running the full Yost motor in the car and one of the old motors, interestingly. So this could be a great battle, and there are no soft gloves on at this point. They can go at each other for all they're worth.
And in GTS, you've got, of course, three teams with hopes of getting to victory lane here today. And the rain could be a huge equalizer between the Corvettes, the Celine, and the Ferrari, the Olive Garden Ferrari. And they all line up together. All 4 of those cars qualified very closely in time trials yesterday, and they will line up together on the grid when we get ready to go racing. Still circulating under caution here at Sears Point because of the rain that we have seen today. We'll grab a quick timeout. Be right back. Welcome back on Speed Channel to Sears Point Raceway, getting set for round 2 of the American Le Mans Series, the Grand Prix of Sonoma, presented by Foster's Lager. Second race of the 2002 season, the 2-month break between Sebring and Sears. Interesting because it gave many of these teams an opportunity to prepare for Le Mans, pre-qualifying 2 weeks ago. The race comes up in 4 weeks, of course, and you'll have extensive coverage right here on Speed Channel in the 24 hours of Le Mans. And for these teams, it's added something, I think, to the mix this weekend. They had to think about what cars to bring, what cars to perhaps leave in France, and how to prepare for the entire rest of the American Le Mans Series season. And there are more than a dozen ALMS teams heading across the pond in June. It certainly has posed unique challenges for those squads.
We had to ship everything over there without the car because we bought a new car over there. We shipped everything back just in time to the airport. We're driving a different car here at this race. The other car's out getting prepared. All the equipment's here. Then it turns around and goes back over again with the new car. It is really crazy, but it's working out. It's just a lot of work.
In the beginning, it took a lot of paperwork, sorting out with the guys what was going to go and get shipped over for practice, then get back in the crate and get shipped over for this race, and then what has to go over and above that back over for the race itself.
We ship one trailer back earlier and ship another one here, so we have 3 trailers available, and that was our lucky thing to go forwards. And we do only 1 car here now, which gives us really big busy in the moment. So now we should fly back everything from Frisco on Tuesday, then start working again and go to Le Mans.
After the pre-test in Le Mans, we sent 15 people to Atlanta to our second base, and then the car was already there for repairing, and this was not a big deal.
And you have to make that decision of what car do you use at Le Mans, what car do you keep here?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly different too, because really at Le Mans, because you're faced with a number of really, really long straights, you run as low a downforce package you can get away with. You want minimal drag and try and take advantage of the endless top speed. Well, at Sears Point, it's almost the exact opposite. Here you want a ton of downforce because you've got so many high-speed sections. And it does basically require 2 completely different cars. It's a lot of work for these crews.
But as we say, more than a dozen. I think the number was 16 cars representing more than a dozen ALMS teams will be part of the field for the running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans that comes up on Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, amazing. It shows the amount of work. I mean, Gary Pratt, the Corvette guru there, Gary's 19 years old, but you see he looks like he's substantially older because of all the traveling it's taken on.
I want to show you what went on here earlier today. The morning warm-up session was extremely interesting. The rain was quite a bit lighter at this point in the morning, but this gives you an idea of how wet the racetrack was from the rain, and still is, and this is one of the reasons why we've started this race under caution. This is the Nighthawk 675 car spinning. And
even Yost.
Yeah, there's the Yost car.
One of the rare times you ever see that car backwards, and there's a car that you won't see backwards today any longer.
Gunnar Jeanette put the 49 car, the Panos, into the concrete barrier. So the car was badly torn. Bill Oberlin also put one of the Panoses in the tire barrier. That car was able to be brought off the grass and back onto the racetrack, and they will take the green flag. So we understand that when we come back from a quick break here, we should be ready to put the green flag out. And John Field's crew hoping that the Intersport Lola MG will be ready to take the green as well here at Sears Point. Welcome back to Sears Point here on Speed Channel alongside Bill Adam. I'm Rick Benjamin, getting about set to put the green flag out for the first time today in the Grand Prix of Sonoma. Everybody's got the lights on, Bill. The wipers getting a workout here. And as a driver, you've been in these cars many, many times over the years. If you've run a long time under caution like this, can you be ready? What do you do mentally to prepare for the final start of this race? Well,
right now, I mean, they'll all be aware that the pace car lights have gone out. They know they're going to start the next lap, and it's almost like switching into a different gear. You focus, you become intense. And suddenly the enjoyment of just saying, well, I've got a few laps here to get to feel the car a little bit, and so on, that goes away. Now your game face goes on, you become hungry for that win, and just sit down and really focus on the job. John Field's crew still working on the MG Lola. You're looking through the eye port of John's helmet, one of the helmet cams in use for the first time here today. And
we're pleased to be able to bring you that vantage point. Let's get a final update from pit road. We're told that the green will be out next time by. First to Jan Beekes.
Well, that'll be nice. It'd be good to see some racing, but you know, when you have this much yellow and you have slippery conditions, you have to think about fuel economy. That is going to affect the pit strategy. Now, some of the LMP competitors, the prototype competitors, even said if it stays this wet, we could make it in one stop, which seems amazing to me. But what's going to make a big difference, especially for the Audi teams, they have 3 drivers that they want to get points with. So therefore, you have to drive at least 10 laps to get points, even if you have enough fuel to make it for that maybe one stop. Most likely, they'll be here 3 times. Amanda?
Well, another team that this is going to affect is the Conrad team and their Celine. They think they can maybe just pass with 1 pit stop. That is so long as the race runs more under yellows. Of course, the longer the cars stay under yellows, the less fuel they use, and therefore they can get away with just 1 pit stop. So they have got their fingers crossed that there will just be a long period of yellows so that they can just take the 1 stop.
And for Borcheller and Franz Conrad, that could work out well. There are only 2 drivers in that car.
I mean, I like Franz's theory. If it stays under yellow long enough, they don't have to make any pit stops. But I don't know, 1 stop, that may be stretching it too much. The Audis are in a pretty good position right now because they have a number of settings in their onboard black boxes where they can basically tune the motor for whatever they want. There's a setting for a pace car, for example, right here, where you're getting quadruple the mileage. And there will be a setting for rain where the power will come in a little bit differently, a little bit softer, so it doesn't get wheel spin. Ah, good. They got their, you know, I should have thought of this earlier. That's an MG. It probably has Lucas Electric. That would explain it, Rick.
Back many, many years ago, that was not the kind of car you wanted on a wet day,
oh,
was
my
it?
Lord, I've driven enough of those.
It's a Lola chassis car with MG power. And John Field up through the gears. Look at the wetness, the moisture on his visor there, and starting to fog just a little already.
Yeah, he'll be glad to get on the track right now to start focusing on the job at hand. And he's probably still going to be a little bit concerned about the reliability, and I'm sure it disturbs him that the car just basically stopped as he left the pits. How frustrating that is, but to be expected with a brand new car. It's like a brand new street car when they come out. There are always teething problems.
Our race today, 2 hours and 45 minutes under the clock, and since we started under caution, we put nearly 19 minutes of action on the board. The field coming around to complete lap number 6, but we should get the green this time by. Field will be 5 laps down, so his opportunity to perhaps score a top finish today goes away.
Yeah, and I think the car really to watch is that car back in 3rd place with Jan Magnussen. Remember him at Mosport in the rain? It was, I mean, big front engine cars like that aren't supposed to do what he made it do. And watching him in the morning warm-up today in the rain, he was 7 seconds a lap quicker than anybody else. He is just so good. So he really, I think he wants to try and get by that Yost car as quickly as possible. And then in turn, Yost would love to get the luxury of a clear track. Look at Tom.
Tom Christensen starting on the pole, single file start for the first time today. We're glad you're with us on Speed Channel, and the American Le Mans Series is underway.
Oh, and Christensen absolutely nailed the start. He got just what he needed. He got a buffer, which will give him the luxury of being able to put the brakes on a little bit early, kind of feel his way around the track and not worry. Look at the Audi, too, trying to get powered out, and there he goes. Oh, my.
Panos moves by to 2nd spot. That's the David Brabham and Jan Magnussen car.
He got phenomenal traction off that turn. You saw the Audi actually kind of crabbing sideways a bit, a little bit of wheel spin, and Jan simply drove around him, got the power of the big Ford down to the ground. That's impressive.
On board the Yost Audi with Capello at the wheel.
And as you look ahead from the Audi, you can see the dark patches that the tires are leaving. The wet weather tires are able to throw up tremendous amounts of water, and you can see up ahead where the previous cars have gone, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to try and follow in the footprints. But then when you get to the braking areas, you have to get off that eventually, and that's where it's a real game of bravery.
It does appear that it has stopped raining here at Sears Point. Now there's a good bit of water still on the track, and it'll be quite a while before the surface dries out.
Yeah, and Capello is having a bit of a problem there. He got in far deeper into that corner than he wanted, did not get it turned. On the other hand, it looks like that Magnussen has actually got better traction than Christensen has right now. Oh, I'm sorry, Brabham's in the car. It looks like he's got better traction than the ADD champion car.
So the 38 car and one car, the 62, Rich Grupp's machine in trouble. Hampton and Grupp, this is a 675 prototype, started at the back of the grid. Ryan Hampton from Scottsdale, Arizona, starting the car today, and he has spun out on the course. So there will be at least a local yellow for the lead down into turn 11, and the Panos, Brabham takes over.
And that's just what we talked about. Again, the Audi gets a little bit of wheel spin coming off the corner. Look at the Panos. He is able to get so much power down.
Brabham pulls away up onto the front straightaway. Christensen trying to hang with him. David Brabham very quick here in the first green flag lap.
He is. He really has that car working well. There's one of the other Paynoses that now has a Mugen Honda engine.
I believe that's Scott Maxwell in the 17. We'll take a look at how David Brabham got the lead coming to the final hairpin here. This is turn 11.
And just right up the inside, Tom Christensen driving very smart. He gave David lots of room on the inside and thought, David, if you can go that deep, it's yours for the taking.
Now, this is not unlike what we saw last year at Mosport in Canada later in the season, where it rained up to the race and for the first several minutes of the race. Then it dried out, and it was really a challenge. The track was very challenging at Mosport for many of these drivers, and you saw some interesting passes up front.
Yeah, a little bit of a different line there, too, coming around that long carousel turn. David was about a car length wider out on the turn than was Tom Christensen in the Audi. So they're both kind of exploring the track right now, trying to find where they can each get best traction. In fact, you know, as I'm looking around, as we may end up getting some sunshine later on today, because you can see it's getting substantially brighter.
Our location right behind pit road, right off of turn 11, where they call the kink turn 12 of the front straightaway here, and it definitely has brightened up a lot in the last 10 minutes or so. Your second place car, the champion Audi, Tom Christensen, moving into this car for this weekend, because he's in contention for the driving championship.
Yeah, he is, and he was brilliant to watch in qualifying yesterday. The battle that went on between Tom, between Emanuele Pirro and the Yost car, and wow, boy, there is a battle taking place right there between the Corvette and the Celine.
This
right
is
on
for
its tail.
Top spot in GTS. Ron Fellows out of Canada starting the 3 car today, and he is the leader. Terry Borcheller in the 26 right behind him. I understand there could be a penalty assessed to the Celine, though, perhaps for passing under the caution. Find out more about that in a moment. Of course, the Celine facing heavy restrictions at Sebring for the season opener compared to what they had and what they could use power-wise last season. Some of those restrictions have been taken off for this race.
That's right. They did lose 20 kilos in weight and got a little bit of a break on the air inlet restrictor that they said at Sebring. It just strangled the car. It took so much power away. Corvette having a bit of a problem there getting power to the ground, but they said again, to go back to that restrictor, with the additional size of the restrictor, they say that they're now getting a lot more power. And the car on the tail of the Celine, I think that's another great story. That is a green Ferrari 550 Maranello. That's Raffinelli Racing, the Olive Garden car. They've returned to the ALMS this year. It is a brand new car, and Mr. Raffinelli said that so far, even this early in this development, it's only its second race, he's already spent over $1 million. So
money, no object.
That's a lot of pasta.
It certainly is. There's the 26 Borcheller. We're told there will be no penalty on the Celine at this point. So apparently the officials of IMSA conferring, deciding that Terry did not pass anyone under the yellow. But he is right up behind the Corvette of Ron Fellows for the lead in GTS. And Emmanuel Naspetti in the Ferrari is third. Working their way around the 2.5-mile road course here at Sears Point. Great crowd on hand despite the rain we've seen. Your leader is David Brabham. Back at Sears Point, the conditions causing problems for the Yost Audi. This is Dindo Capello. Billy spun into the grass. He's got the car on the racetrack, but had trouble getting it refired.
Well, he did have trouble getting it refired, but even more difficulty, those cars are notoriously difficult to start from a dead stop. And the fact that he's trying to go uphill, you almost have to rev beyond 6,000 and slip what is a very small, very fragile clutch. So it's really tough on that car to get it moving.
Now we are under full course caution. Rich Grupp in the 62 car had gone off the course, backed into a barrier. Actually, Ryan Hampton starting the 62. He's up in turn 1 on the outside of the racetrack, so they will go and get the 62 car. He's not in a safe location right there as the field comes out behind the safety car for the second time today. David Brabham, still your leader, having taken the lead away from Tom Christensen moments ago. Let's show you what happened on board here with Capello.
Watch as Ronaldo goes down into this dip. That's where water builds up right there. And suddenly, as he tries to get any sort of power down, just gets sideways and slams the barrier. I mean, that fast. It's that easy.
Now, the car didn't appear to have much in the way of body damage. I think he might have stopped without actually hitting the concrete. What do you think?
I thought I saw a little mark on the right front wheel. That was my only source of concern, but I'm sure he would feel something through the steering wheel. One of the difficulties, this car is so good, it is so sophisticated to drive that the steering it's simply so good it's hard to tell when there's damage on the front end. I mean, it's very difficult to feel a tire lock, for example. And the only way that drivers frequently know if a tire is locked is seeing smoke stream through those vents on the top of the bodywork. Normal cars, you feel a steering wheel jerk in your hands, not in the R8.
Well, pit road is closed right now.
Wow.
Because of the problem down in turn 1 with Ryan Hampton in the 62. So the officials have not yet opened pit road, and that means Capello will have to stay out. They will not be able to bring that car to pit road yet without a penalty to check it over. So we will see what happens. Meantime, though, he has given up a top 3 spot at this point. Scott Maxwell in one of the Pano's LMP 07 cars has moved into 3rd. We're under caution at Sears Point on speed. Back at Sears Point, Dindo Capello decides to bring the 1 car down onto pit road. He is unbuckling already, Bill. They'll do a driver change here.
Well, one of the difficulties is that with the Audi contracts, they all are allowed an equal chance at the championship, which means they all have to get in the car. It's not something you want today. You would like to be able to keep a driver in, run a double shift, and save the time.
Tigran Bikas.
And you're correct, there is going to be a driver change. Frank Biela will be taking over the duties. Now, it should not take very long to fuel this car because they're not using a lot under these conditions. And they're also going to take the opportunity to check this car out to see if there was any damage when he got the thing around backwards. Now, one of the problems with the Audi is that this car is designed for the very high speeds of Le Mans. So therefore, it doesn't have the same level of downforce, let's say, as a Pano's. So that's going to cause the drivers some difficulty here today, because if it stays this slick, downforce is going to be the key.
Under ALMS rules, of course, you shut the engine off to refuel and do the tire change.
And look at him, he's trying to plug his helmet in. They forgot to put his helmet in. Somebody yelled to him. He's doing that right now. He's reaching across. I think he's got in. That's just the rev limiter blinking there, holding the car down to pit lane speed that's directly in front of him.
So Frank Biela off pit road after a quick stop and a driver change. The second of the 3 drivers will wheel car number 1 here today. Michelin provides the tires, of course, for Audi and Pano's and many other teams. A leader in technology on the racetrack, and they're part of another large project that could change the way folks get around. Bill Adam has the story.
In the American Le Mans Series, we've come to recognize the name Michelin as that of a winner. Every time the Audi crossed the finish line, every time the Pano's wins, it's on a Michelin tire. But this company does much more than just build these tires. In fact, look at this. Here's a tire you may not have recognized. This is the Segway HT, the human transportation device, and you can see they're Michelin tires. Now, to design the tire for this particular machine was really difficult because they had to have a tire with excellent traction. They had to have a tire to provide suspension because the Segway does not have a suspension, so the tire actually acts as suspension. And lastly, they needed a tire that also didn't mark floors. Quite a formidable challenge, but it worked. And this machine is a wild success. Now, Obi-Wan Benjamin and I are going to get a chance to try these now, so may the force be with us.
Okay, Ricky. I'm ready.
I think we need a few of those in the TV compound.
I'd love them.
Very, very much appreciated the opportunity to try the Segway. Under caution at Sears Point, David Brabham is your leader ahead of Christensen, Maxwell, Alberlin, and Clint Field. We'll be back. Welcome back to Sears Point Raceway here on Speed Channel. Coverage of the American Le Mans Series, the Grand Prix of Sonoma, second round of the 2002 season. Up top, the speed strip that shows you our running order as we get ready to go green again for the second time here this afternoon. Started the race behind the pace car under caution because we had hard rain, Bill, up until about 10 minutes ago. The rain has stopped around the race course. This will present an interesting strategic challenge for these teams. You have to decide when to come in to go to dry tires.
Yeah, it does. The other thing that might have taken place is that maybe some teams are depending on it being a wet race for the entire length and made changes that can't be changed during a pit stop, like softening or loosening up sway bars in the car.
Green flag back out as we begin lap number 13 here at Sears Point. Taking a look at your leaders, here come the GTS cars. The 3 with Ron Fellows, that's the Corvette out in front. Now, we thought that the Ferrari, Naspetti in the Olive Garden car, had taken the GTS lead. IMSA officials put him back behind. They ruled the pass had come after the yellow was waved. Trouble for the Nighthawk car again. Looks like they have spun coming up onto the front straightaway. The 11 car, and that was Chad Block at the wheel. We'll take a look here as the green was reappearing coming through the final corner.
Oh boy, just that little bit too much power. You could see that he was trying to take a tight inside line to maybe get a good run on a couple of the GT Porsches, and that's all it took.
Steve Knight and Mel Hawkins, of course, the primary drivers for Nighthawk. Chad Block is an instructor here at Sears Point. He's joined the team this weekend. They're very high on his capabilities, but the car just got away from him.